Maarten. Sint Maarten mainly dependent on the US market. And US growth has actually been very vibrant in the last couple of years. Mainly supported by strong fiscal impulse by the US government, growth above 2%, strong growth, tight labor market, and that translates towards the rest of the world and towards Sint Maarten. And then inflation was an important determinant in the past couple of years, because the spike in inflation in 2022 put pressure on the economy because of the interest rates that were going to be hiked by the major central banks, trying to lower the pressure on prices, trying to lower the pressure on the economy, but therefore also the risk of triggering a recession. So inflation has come down. That is good news. It has taken some time, and before the Federal Reserve was expecting inflation to come back to target end of this year. Now it's more likely to be next year, or maybe even the beginning of 2026. But inflation is coming down, and the Federal Reserve and other central banks are confident that their policies are going to be successful. But they're also careful not to lower their interest rates, their policy rates too soon. And so we have seen a approach by the Federal Reserve that is waiting and seeing what data comes in, if inflation is indeed, and also core inflation is indeed going back to target before lowering their interest rate. And the European Central Bank has already taken one step and lowered their policy rate with 25 basis points in the beginning of June. And the main reason why inflation was rising in 2022 and now is going down again was the increase in commodity prices and the increase in global oil prices. And in 2023 we have actually seen on average a lower oil price than in 2022, and that was helping inflation to come down. So I already discussed this monetary policy, and on the right-hand side, you can also see that obviously the higher interest rate on the money market has an effect on the market at which the Dutch government is borrowing in the market. It has increased towards 3% at the end of last year, above 3%, and that is also important for Sint Maarten, because Sint Maarten, through the standing subscription, is lowering it against Dutch treasury bond yields. And therefore interest rates are expected to rise also for Sint Maarten when they refinance their COVID loans. And they have refinanced their COVID loans against this higher interest rate, having consequences obviously for the budget in Sint Maarten. Then going to Sint Maarten on the right hand side, super high growth, I would say, in 2022, almost 14%, still very strong growth in 2023, but where we saw that net exports, so the balance between exports and imports, was contributing very positively to growth in 2022. This was less the case in 2023, and we saw that growth was more reliant on domestic expenditure, in particular investment, but also to a little bit by consumption. Investments, the airport is an obvious example that was driving also this growth, this healthy growth in 2023. When we go into a little bit more detail, we see that in particular the construction sector, so the airport was mentioned, legal bay is often mentioned, also the hospital often mentioned, the construction activities there. So 70% growth in 2023, and also tourism was positively growing, and that is having an effect in other sectors as well, as we will discuss later on in the presentation.
The 2x4 government was set. You guys were ready to rock and roll, and of course, 17 days in, this devastating news. How did that make you feel as a party leader, as part of a coalition? that people already had so much doubts on.
Right. No, it made me feel terrible. I think nobody wants that to happen. Nobody expects such a thing to happen so early in to a government's life. And for me, I was disappointed. Not surprised because I also think I've shared enough about the efforts that were being made by the opposition, well, now opposition, to kind of break the 2x4 together, just kind of sowing the seeds of doubt, and some coming to me and saying, you should have called me first after the election and such. And I'm like, why? I'm like, the people sent a message. They took 2 seats away from one seat away from the other. So that's a message, and I think that that type of message should be respected. Obviously, it was not, and that's okay. That's politics, I guess. But here we are, and I hope that the people will see through all of the fanfare and the songs and the jingles and such, and realize that they need to send maybe a stronger message and take away more seats from those two opposition parties.
Well, I think it's unfortunate for sure, because we would love to have sustainability and growth in our community.
Hmm.
But you've heard over the last few, I say, weeks, talk about sustainability and 4 years of government, and now your parties have gone into government and discover these things that are unraveling. For the community, it feels like, okay, what's really going on here? Is it that the coalition 2x4 government is making all this stuff up, or trying to throw shade, as they would say, or put
Yeah.
light on, oh, sustainable, but it wasn't sustainable because look at the mess they left behind.
Right.
What do you say about that?
I've said as well publicly, Electra, stability is nice, but stability at all costs, not necessarily. And also you could be stable in a hospital, but you're still in hospital
Mm-hmm.
at the end of the day. And I think that what is being discovered is that very much the situation has been glossed over, has been prettied up. The reality facing St. Martin as a country from a financial, economic perspective. I think that if we use the measuring sticks that they use to measure progress, not much has actually progressed. We are not a party that measures progress in how much concrete we pour, or how full the nightclubs are, or anything like that. It has to be on how is the average person living, how is the average person doing, can they afford, the basic necessities in life. Is your infrastructure stable? As we can see, the last couple of weeks, it has not been stable. The most critical part of our infrastructure is not stable. And I think that I can only speak from the PFP side concretely. I leave it to the other ministers to bring out what they themselves have said that they are discovering in their tenure. But now that we have sworn in Mr. Patrice Gomes as Minister of Rami,
Yes.
there will be more coming from within that ministry to shed some light on the reality of the situation.
Yeah. You're the newest political candidate for Party for Progress. And of course, before we go forward, we want to go backward. And we want to know, for those of them who don't know, why did you leave the National Alliance?
Ooh,
Why?
let's
To the
start
point,
with
I
that.
told you.
We want to get into the nitty gritty of things, because I think it's an honest question.
Yeah.
And people want to know, okay, Solange was with National Alliance, now she left, now she's going with Party for Progress. Clear that up for us once and for all.
Okay, so there's a couple of things, right? And it's a very good question, and it's something that everyone always wants to know. First of all, the party, and I am going to be open and honest here, especially with your lecture, the party is not what it used to be.
Okay.
So this is in the National Alliance of 2010.
Mhm.
And the bones of it isn't the SPA that my family grew up supporting, right? It
Understood.
became National Alliance. So the party itself has changed. This party was once a party that built roads, schools, was about social development. And in my opinion, based on my experience, it is not that party anymore. There are a couple of issues that I experienced. One, there were a number of, in my opinion, unethical decisions made. And I'm going to be
Okay.
very, very
Transparent.
detailed and transparent about it. For one, the land policy, there was issues with how land was issued.
Okay.
We saw a court case come out of that where the judge said, Minister, what you're doing is not necessarily illegal, but it is unethical.
So
You
innocent Minister Egbert Durand, is that the minister you're
Yes,
referring
the
to?
former minister of
Okay.
Lomi.
Just to clarify.
Yes, and the judgment was you have to create a proper land policy that is fair,
Mhm.
that is transparent, that is open, because it is not about a few people on the island, it is about everyone. And the PFP brought a motion of disapproval, which I was open with the coalition in saying I am going to support this motion
Mhm.
because it is about being integral and ethical in your decision making.
Okay.
There were some number of other issues with the ombudsman that we went through, and so there was things that happened, and I said after a while, you know what, I am not in alignment in some of the most important values that I hold with the party, and I have to leave. What was important to note though is that I did not drop the government when I left the party, and I was very clear about supporting any piece of legislation that came to government that was in the best interest of the people.
Yes.
I would support it. And that was
Understood.
something that I told everyone. And so I went independent. And at the same time, too, especially over the last year,
Mhm.
I felt like I had to step back. I was very clear that I would not run in the January elections. I was not that I didn't say that I was resigning from politics, but I did say that I didn't want to run in the January elections because I had to step back, reflect, and analyze not only my tenure as a member of parliament, what I could achieve and what I couldn't, but the whole entire system itself, what you just spoke about. Why is it that people come into this system, that people become politicians and they change, they don't do what they say they were going to do? There are often times when in parliament amendments are passed that do not get implemented at all.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
you say, yeah, but that amendment passed, paternity leave is one of them. That MP Leonard, 4 years, 5 years later, you realize, wait a minute, government hasn't put the amendment into action. So it was as if it never happened. And that is
Understood.
our problem. And I needed to step back and reflect and analyze, look at what needs to change, what needs to be focused on. And when government fell, like Melissa said, I was angry and frustrated as well. I was actually looking forward to this coalition, uh, getting the opportunity to govern. I knew that the people would have shifted and have wanted to see an alternative in government.
SXM, your social and health insurance. SXM, your social and health insurances.
Are you SZV insured? Do you have a valid medical insurance status? SZV is cardless. Request your My SZV account today and enter the virtual office of SZV. Go to szv.sx and sign up now.
SXM, yeah, your social and health insurances.
Mr. Based on the press release you received yesterday, I can tell that you have hit the floor running or the road running. Your assessment based on your preparation towards the hurricane season, what information do you have regarding this?
Haven't gotten that far in our discussion. It's basically started yesterday at 2 o'clock and basically just started having general discussions with the ministry regarding exact plans for hurricane season. I'm aware we are very much in the beginning, if not towards the first month end of hurricane season. And I promise to get those plans out with a very detailed hurricane plan for the people. I think a strong communication plan is equally as important as execution, and I promise to get that to you, the people, as soon as possible.
How many building permits have been cancelled and or placed on hold since your government took office?
So we actually haven't gone through and canceled any building permits. We're actually under review of most of the building permits currently, realizing that a number of the building permits have been issued under the previous government without the proper consultation being done. Several of those are actually part of the large case file that we have as ROMI currently. We actually have 2 meetings regarding 2 of those this week. I will not disclose exactly, of course, who they are, but again, I think the image out there is that this government and this particular ministry is trying to cancel and hold all development. That's not the case at all. I think what we're actually trying to achieve is a proper assessment of what has been permitted and does it fall within the scope of what should be environmentally correct. So for now, nothing has been canceled. A lot of it is still under review. And we promise to get that finalized because there is a severe backlog, particularly when it comes to issues of land reissuances and transfers. That has been quite a number of calls received even before I became minister regarding those issues, and they're being tackled starting actually this afternoon.
The long-term vision to order 3 generators of 9 megawatts. Each is clear from the DP's position. Regarding to the access of funds, a solution was presented by myself last week, and with receiving further information, reservations can be set in place by proposed budget amendments to utilize the 2024 capital expenditure budget towards this national emergency. Understandably, everyone wants immediate solutions, and I do not want to deviate from the immediate crisis, but want to ensure that we are not standing in this situation again in the coming few years when our current generators age and reach the end of its life. Renewables are definitely the target, but it brings me to some interesting questions after going through such document about this exclusive deal on the table which was signed off by the previous government with Grid Market. For one, Grid Market and Island Resilience Partnership, the IRP, together form a partnership, and the IRP compromising of a public-private partnership. Can more light be shed in the exact structure of this entity and who exactly compromises of the IRP? As per the agreement, St. Martin will make available all relevant and reasonably requested data. Up to now, what data has Grid Market requested and what has been shared? If no data has been shared, what is the role of Grid Market? And if any data has been shared, what is the outcome of that? Per se, data has been collected, and note the agreement was signed back in 2021, as just mentioned by our Prime Minister. I would assume the assessment phase might have long concluded. Grid Market has been granted a latitude in vendor selections. I would like to question what might have inspired the government of the day to grant a broad agreement holding our future energy security via renewables hostage to a private entity. Considering we have a good possibility for solar or wind or waste to energy, I would also like to ask what vendors have been selected, if any, and in what field of renewables?
Rather excellent job this morning in bundling the answers. I heard you give answers from MPs that the MPs didn't ask. So I think you switched up the answers, questions that I asked. You posed it under Mr. Lacruz and others. So it makes me wonder if your presentation that was given this morning wasn't a little bit bungled as well, because during your presentation, a particular MP stormed out of here stating lies, lies. That is pure lies. Then I see other MPs went out to console him, probably to tell him maybe the Prime Minister is mixing up, but let us stay to the script. So I wonder again if the presentation is bundled as well. Then I go back to, I think, one of the first pages on your slide, where it was that you're going to rent between 7 to 10 20-foot containers, generator containers. So an exact number wasn't given. It was given either between 7, 8, 9, or 10. But then when I look further in the presentation, I realized that you had figures. So these figures that we're going to pay on a monthly basis or a total figure that is given, is this based on 7, 8, 9, or 10 generators, or is it just randomly plugged in to make it look good? Then I heard that included in this rental agreement is personnel. Can you tell me how long this personnel will be here for? Another question, where is these containers, the rented containers, coming from? Is it from Europe? Is it from Miami? When will they be here? I think you mentioned 2 weeks from today, or Monday, yesterday, or next week. During your last presentation, I specifically asked you to share with us the information received from another MP, which we all MPs in here could peruse. You promised that this would be done last week. Last week is over, a new week has begun, and up to now, I haven't seen anything. So probably you give it to the chair, and I didn't receive it as yet, or I'm not aware.
And it wasn't really answered per se, not in the way that I asked it. So I asked, has there been an investigation into the megawatt requirement of existing developments, those that are under construction, those that are pending, as in they have not yet broken ground? And I'm happy to hear that there's some working procedures now looking to be put into place. But what I was looking for was the megawatt requirement. So how much are these developments that are already there kind of sucking from the grid? And what can we expect for them, for those that are now being built, to suck from the grid after? Because everything has an energy rating and requirement, whether it's a TV, a refrigerator, or a building. I remember once hearing, for example, that AUC itself was about 2 megawatts of consumption. So that's actually the question that I wanted to be answered. And my other question was, where are the container generators coming from? As the speaker before me asked, and as was asked in the previous meeting. So where are they coming from? I saw that the solar company basically is based in Miami, but is there any other country involved basically where these things may be coming from?
Chair, I would like you to ask the Honorable Prime Minister, how long is the contract with GEBE to Sol? Yeah, go tell him. Yeah, okay. Good. How long is that contract, Madam Chair, that we have with Sol supplying GEBE with diesel, gas, fossil fuel? How long is that contract, Madam Chair? The reason why I'm asking that contract, Madam Chair lady, that contract is until 2027. Until 2027, 3 years from now, Madam Chair. In 2 years from now, we are talking about getting generators, more diesel, Madam Chair, more fossil fuel, more expense. And the European Union and the European Committee is saying they got 7.7 million here for renewable energy. This means, Madam Chair, we will still be paying GEBE, we will still be paying Sol millions for fossil fuel, Madam Chair. Millions. When every report, TNE report, European, all of them, GEBE Commission, concession agreement from since 20, what does it say? Renewable energy. Here walks in the Prime Minister saying exactly what GEBE is telling him, oh, we're going to buy 3 generators. More fossil fuel again. More money to Sol again. Madam Chair. Madam Chair lady, the article goes on to say, the multi-annual indicate program MIP for St. Martin and other Caribbean OCTs was adopted in November 2022. The main sector of intervention is sustainable and resilient energy, where the focus is on moving away from polluting diesel fuel generators towards renewable energies, the European Committee clarified. Madam Chair, I am asking you, Madam Chair, to please ask the Honorable Prime Minister if you haven't read this report.
SXM, your social and health insurances. SXM, your social and health insurances.
Are you SXV insured? Do you have a valid medical insurance status? SXV is cardless. Request your My SXV account today and enter the virtual office of SXV. Go to sxv.sx and sign up now.
SXV, yeah, your social and health insurances.
Phillipsburg Methodist Youth Band end of school year will be holding a glow-in-the-dark bike walkathon on Saturday, the 29th of June at 6 p.m. Speaking to the news is band director Mrs. Rosemary Hodge Marsham, Mr. Cedric James, who is a board leader in the band, and we also will be speaking to Evanique Marsham. She is the youngest band member.
It's our first bike walkathon, so if you have a bike, you can ride, and for those who want to walk and they don't have, they can walk and enjoy the walk bikeathon.
Okay, what is the route?
The route, it starts from the Methodist Church ground. We go up Front Street. At the courthouse, we go down to the boardwalk, go across the CIBC Bank, across Jump Up Casino, go down Back Street, and then cross over to Front Street and back up to the Methodist Churchyard.
Okay. Mr. James, where can we get tickets? And for those of us who, because I heard it, that even if you don't want to participate, you can buy a ticket still and you can donate it to someone. Talk to us about the tickets.
Of course, your support is always, always needed. So tickets are available, first of all, at Van Dorp and also at the Methodist Church office and from the leaders and members of the band. Also, some congregational stewards have some tickets as well.
Will we be able to get a ticket possibly the day of the
Yes, if you didn't get your ticket in
bikeathon?
advance, yes, you can get your tickets at the event before it starts so that you can participate.
Okay, and what is included for that?
For the
ticket
$10 or
prices?
18 guilders,
Yes.
you have 2 glow sticks, and also at the end of the bike walkathon, you get a drink and a snack.
Okay, okay. Miss Evanique Marsham, talk to us about your role in as the youngest band member.
I started playing when I was 4 years old because I saw my sister playing, so I wanted to begin to play.
Nice.
And I'm here to tell everybody about the Glow in the Dark Bikeathon.
Okay, tell us, what are you looking forward to with this Glow in the Dark Bikeathon?
To meet everybody there who I know and other fellow members.
Okay, what instrument do you play?
I do sing.
You sing, okay. And how you plan to participate? You're going to be walking or you're going to be using your bike,
I'm
riding
going
your
to
bike?
be using my bike.
Yes? Okay, so what do you want to tell your friends out there? Or the parents of your friends out there?
That they could come along too with their children.
Okay. And it starts what time?
6 p.m. to 7.
7.